Hello and welcome to part 6 of my PS2 collection. Next up we have a very underrated action game, and that is Rygar, the Legendary Adventure. Now this is sort of half God of War, half Onimusha. Your main weapon is basically this sort of, I guess you call it a spiked yo-yo, almost, as I dubbed it. But yeah, it's a pretty interesting game. Pretty good like cutscenes and all that. The action's pretty decent, and if you've not played this game, I highly recommend it. It's pretty good. Next up, we have a very obscure game, but a pretty decent one, and that is SOS: The Final Escape. Now, I believe this was called something else in America, and I forget what it's called. I know there was a sequel called Raw Danger, which never, I don't think got released over here, and if it did, it was very limited supply. But basically, it's a environmental survival horror, if that makes sense. Basically, there's this earthquake, and you basically have to do whatever it takes to survive. It's kind of like it's kind of similar to I Am Alive, which recently came out on Xbox Live Arcade like a while back, and was it PSN as well? I think it might have been, yeah. But yeah, this game's pretty decent. The it's a bit rough, like graphically, and the sort of animations and controls are a little bit stiff, but yeah, it's a decent game. I highly recommend it if you find it anyway. Next up, we have Global Defense Force, or Earth Defense Force. This used a different name for some reason. I don't know why. But yeah, it's pretty much like Earth Defense Force that you see now. It's sort of you're under attack by like insects and giant insects, and you have to like clean up the city basically. And yeah, it's very good arcadey goodness. It's like a third-person shooter as well, and yeah, you basically just take out all these insects basically, and yeah, it's fun, really fun. Better with like more than one player though. Next up, we have Half-Life, which was a port of the PC game. Not quite as good as a PC game. It's funny, I just noticed that Gearbox actually ported this game, and yeah, it's decent, better than the more recent ports anyway. Colonial Ruins, yeah. But yeah, it's decent for it. You know, it's not the best version, of course, but yeah, it's Half-Life and it's interesting stuff. I played Half-Life 2 first before I played this, so the story wasn't quite as impactful as it would have been if I played this first, but yeah, it's still good. And next up, we have Resident Evil Code Veronica X, which includes the Devil May Cry demo, which I have right here. Kind of pointless having this, considering I got the actual game and the HD collection on PS3, but yeah, it's nice to have it just for completeness' sake, you know. But yeah, Resident Evil Code Veronica, it's a good game. It's really tough for someone like me, because I'm not a big fan of like tank controls, and this one in particular was quite hard with the trying to save up loads of ammo, and at a certain point you had to rely on a limited supply of ammo, and if you didn't have enough, then you basically fucked basically. But other than that, it's a good game. Next up, we have Resident Evil 4, and this is the limited steel tin edition. And yeah, I absolutely love this game. It's funny, when I first had this when it came out, I got right up to chapter 5, and then I sort of stopped playing because, as I said, back in the early days, I was something of a pussy when it comes to survival horror games, and I knew about these enemies called the regenerators, which were almost like invincible, and they would make this sort of very chilling sort of breathing sound, and that would always like freak me out whenever I heard it. And then I just stopped playing for God knows how long, and then I sort of finally sort of struck up the courage to come back, and then I sort of beat the game. And for me, this game is definitely one of the greatest games on PS2. Probably right up there with some of the best games ever, I'd say. I mean, I know people prefer like the traditional Resi games, but this was the first Resi game I actually enjoyed playing, and for that I just absolutely love it. But that's my opinion anyway. Next up we have Burnout 2, Point of Impact, and this game's absolutely superb. Almost like the Outrun sequel we never had, and the obviously the infamous like crashes that you could have in the game, which are really over the top. And I think this was the first one that even had like the special crash mode, where you sort of rack up points to get like high scores in the crash mode. And yeah, that was really addictive, and yeah, absolutely fantastic racing game. Next up we have Burnout 3 Takedown, which is actually my favourite in the series, simply because the game both looked a lot nicer, played a hell of a lot better. They sort of improved on the crash mode a hell of a lot more, made it even more addictive, if that was even possible. And yeah, I absolutely adored this game. I didn't really like the next game. I think it was called Revenge. I know a lot of people did. I didn't really care for that one. Maybe because they sort of made the crash mode like dull. Basically, whenever you crash, you have to wait like 2 minutes for the all the other cars to stop crashing. You're just like, yeah, can we get on with it, please? But yeah, I this for me, other than, I mean, I loved Paradise as well. I thought that was great. Yeah, it was different, but it was good. But yeah, I love this one too. Next up we have Lord of the Rings, The Two Towers, which is pretty decent. It's not amazing, but for what it is, it's pretty good. I'm not like a Lord of the Rings buff or anything. If you ask me a question about that, I wouldn't have a clue. But as a game, it's pretty fun. And I also have Return of the King, which is far better than the Two Towers, and it's pretty good because it had like a arcade style sort of score system, which was pretty cool. And I'd try to get like the highest score possible on the first level when you play as Gandalf, and yeah, I had a lot of fun playing this. With these games, it's better to have like more than one player. More like if it's just, I mean, it's quite fun when it's just you yourself playing, but with a friend, it's even better. And next up, we have Tiger Woods, 2004, and yeah, I like this game. In terms of like all the EA Sports titles, I try to play one every couple of years rather than get every single one, because it just becomes quite dull. But I know this one and also 2009 the 360 were probably two of my favourite ones. This one's probably my absolute favourite because of the sort of time like challenges where you sort of boot the game at a certain time, and like you'd have like an optional challenge based on just that day, which was quite novel at the time. And although you could adjust your PS2 clock make sure you could go and do that challenge anyway. But yeah, very, very addictive. Really enjoyed it. And next up we have Soulcalibur 2. It's probably my favourite fighting game on the PS2. Absolutely adored it, up to like everything from the arcade mode to the story mode, the challenge modes, everything. Absolutely adored this game. Fantastic stages. The music as well was absolutely astounding at the time. Next up we have Pro Evolution Soccer 3. Now, another sort of history lesson. Where, back in the day I was heavily into this series, so much so that I used to go to tournaments for like the official Pro Evo leagues, and yeah, I had absolutely fantastic memories playing through it, like the third one to like up to like Pro Evo 6, and yeah, had great fun playing this. This one's the only one I have simply because it's my favourite of all of them, basically. And yeah, just for me, it felt like the perfectly balanced Pro Evo. Because with later iterations, it was either like too attacking focused or too defensive focused. This one, it got the balance just right for me, and that's why it's my personal favourite. Next up we have the Mark of Cree, which I've not had a chance to play, but again, from friends' opinions of it, they absolutely loved it, so I thought I would check it out, and I heard it's pretty good. Next up we have Crazy Taxi. Let's go make some crazy money. Yeah, it's Crazy Taxi, you know. Had an absolute blast playing this in the arcades, and I was always going to get this over the recent downloadable versions, because there's no fucking Offspring in it. If there's no Offspring, then it's not a Crazy Taxi game. Well, it's not Crazy Taxi anyway. But yeah, have an absolute blast playing this. You know, it's not the longest game in the world, but it just, you want to keep going back because it's just so fun to play. Next up we have Flatout 2, which I actually played the first one. I kind of enjoyed it. I like the whole the Crash Dummy sort of mini games. Not so much the racing, but yeah, the mini games I absolutely loved. And yeah, I've not played this one, but I've heard it's a lot more improved over the original. Next up we have Freak Out, which I have absolutely no idea what it is, but it's quirky, it's Japanese, so I thought I'd see if it's interesting. It looks interesting anyway, but yeah, that's all I know. And finally we have both Kingdom Hearts 1 and 2. They are good games, but I feel like the fans of this game sort of hype it up way more than they should. I don't think it's the best game ever, nor do I think it's the best RPG ever made, but they're still good games, and if you like this game, then if you love this game, then yeah, I understand why, because at the time this was kind of a sort of intriguing prospect with Square characters and Disney characters sort of moulding into one game, and yeah, it was quite an intriguing story on the whole, but yeah, I think it's a little bit overrated personally, but that doesn't mean the games aren't good. They are. I just feel that the fans hype out way too much. But anyway, that's it for part 6, and stay tuned for part 7.